Hello everyone and welcome to the first campaign diary of Ethéria, my homebrew setting. Before we begin, I need to introduce you to the campaign setting. Ethéria is a normal big island type of continent, and it's divided into 5 states, which focus on one specific main race of the setting. But for now, we will focus only on the orc state called Gafa, where the game begins. Gafa is mostly a swampy place, but its capital, in the middle of the state, is on top of a dormant volcano. The orcs that live here, which is the orc state, are mostly fishers, gatherers, and hunters. Mostly being a swamp, they have some logistic problems, but it's mostly circumvented by boats and other means of naval travel. Now, let's talk about the characters. First off, we have Arimea Yoralif, a life cleric of Aline and a red-skinned tiefling. Aline is the goddess of war and strategy in Ethéria, most like an Athena-type character would be in Greek mythology. Aline is a member of the Crescent Vanguard, which is like the standing army of Ethéria, the big military force. If you've ever played Magic the Gathering, they are somewhat like the Boros Legion. She was already on her way to Malina, the capital of Gafa, with her brother Acarius before the big event happened, but I'll talk about that later. Next up, we have Bárbara de Callistus, in Portuguese that is. She's a young halfling bard of creation that grew up in a human family. She's a little sprout of the Peace of the Earth, which is a faction dedicated to nature and wildlife and the protection of those things around Ethéria. After leaving her human family behind, she decided to head to the capital after hearing about the big thing and wanting to join it. After her, we have Bionic Operating System aka BOS 808, also known as SOB or SOB in Portuguese. He's a Warforged Battlemaster, also a member of the Crescent Vanguard, together with Arimea. Warforged in Ethéria are not really common because they were present in a war a long time ago. Most people alive don't remember them, but some of them still roam around. Big inspiration from the Guardians, from High Rollers there. He joined the big thing, searching for a reason of why he is awakened. Next up, we have Takeshi, the human blood hunter wild mage sorcerer. A member of the Claw Venom, a faction that is supposed to be the big thief house or underworld-like faction, much like a similar faction in Ravnica from Magic the Gathering. And he's only around because of happenstance and his eternal search of who Takeshi truly is. And last but not least, we can talk about Ethéria, the Eladrin Soulbinder, a homebrew class that we found and that I will leave in the description below. Eladrins, as by a homebrew of mine and Ethéria's player, come from the plane of dreams in Ethéria and not from the Feywild normally. And their color is not only representative of the season, but also their alignment. After spending some time in the Peace of the Earth faction, she decided to also join the big thing as an opportunity of trying to better herself and to bring upon the world peace. And now we can finally talk about the big thing. This campaign takes place 7 days after the capital of the continent, not the capital of one specific state, but the capital of Ethéria itself, was destroyed in an invasion. The capital, just conveniently named Capital, a la Matthew Colville's setting, was located in the middle of the continent and was the main hub for peace and technological advancements. There were cableways that led up and down town, It was a public platform where high-ranking members of all factions made decisions for the whole populace. It was great. On the first day of each year in capital, there is the Great Show, which is a tournament where all the 8 big factions of the setting compete with 2 fighters each in a battle to the death for the title of the Inquisitor. This title grants the winning faction casting vote in all faction decisions. As we have an even number, having one faction with double the votes allows for more decisions to be made quicker. At the end of the Great Show of this year, in which the campaign takes place, when Charlotte Evergreen had just defeated her last opponent and was granting the title of Inquisitor, she was killed in the middle of the arena by another competitor called Nerva, a dwarf from the cult of the Witches of the Stars, another of the 8 big factions. Using the new Inquisitor's death as a catalyst, Nerva brought upon Ethéria a terrifying creature the size of the arena, and that is the only thing that is publicly known. What happened later, no one actually knows, because there was mostly no survivors, and the whole city itself is gone. The intricacies of what happened in Capital and what happened to Charlotte Evergreen are a topic for another discussion when I maybe do another campaign diary for the precursor of this campaign, which is the one in which Charlotte Evergreen is a player character. So, back to the beginning of the campaign. The party begins in line to enlist to the Inquisition, a factionless and governmentless movement made by the Inquisitor to fight against this invasion, when she noticed a lack of interest from the governments and the factions to do anything about it. The whole party, including Acarius, Arimaea's brother, are called in, and when the people organizing the Inquisition there realized that they seemed much more capable than the normal folk of town, being level 2 characters, they were easily accepted in and directed to a specific quest that wasn't being given out to anyone unless they seemed like they could handle it. And the party, being the protagonists of the story, of course, were given the quest. The quest itself was about a group of skeletons that was growing day by day on a swamp nearby. But they were pacific, and it was creating a sense of unease in the population, especially because they were scaring away the wildlife, which meant that hunting, fishing became much more difficult. The party then grabbed some mountain goats to go down the volcano, hopped onto some rowboats, and went onto the river that led to Low Town, a tiny village that was recommended for them to begin their search. They arrived in Low Town when the sun was no longer visible in the sky. The whole populace of the village was sitting around a campfire when the party arrived. The leader of said village, Drokon, was a very old orc that was once member of the Crescent Vanguard, and he recognized the crest on Arimaeus and BOS or SOB's shield. He then proceeded to go talk to them, while Ethéria and Barbara went to talk to Edmundo and Rosani, a bard couple made of a male human and a female halfling, that caught the attention especially of Barbara, being a halfling. Halflings are very common, so meeting another one of her race was amazing for her, and they just started fangirling about one another. While in these talks, Jokon was very interested in SOB or BOS, as he had only heard about free-willed constructs in passing during his time in the war. Being a warforged and not knowing much of what had happened before in his earlier days, SOB was kind of interested in hearing about rumors that could possibly lead to something related to his origin. Edmundo, while talking to Ethéria, agreed to take the party to the location of the skeleton group on the next morning, and with that, the party decided to take a long rest and sleep together with the people of the village. Besides, of course, the edgy character in Takeshi that went for a stroll around the village and returned only in the morning with bloodshot eyes of exhaustion. Then the party head onto rowboats with Edmundo and Rosalie and departed on their first adventure. And that's it. But that's not it. We now have a Discord server, link down in the description. Come hang out and chat about D&D, game dev, and all things nerdy. We are also going to start our live play of D&D, Fate Forgotten Isles, today, Friday 22nd at 8 o'clock p.m. UTC-3, that is Brazilian time, on Twitch and on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe so as you don't miss us when we go live. That's the first session and the introduction to Ethéria. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you want to know more about it, please leave a like and a comment down below so I know to keep doing this. Next video on the channel will probably be about my block breaker game dev adventure, so I hope you are all interested in it as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you around. Goodbye.